On today's wrestling news, a former WWE champion makes their in-ring return. There's details on Shinsuke Nakamura's WWE return. WWE reacts to Netflix's live streaming issues, and a wrestling legend is currently in the hospital. Hello and welcome to WhatCulture Wrestling, the solo Sunday news. Myself, Andrew Pollard. I hope you're well, I hope you're good, and I hope your weekend is going as well as it possibly can. Right, starting today's news. A former world champion made their return to the ring after Friday's episode of WWE SmackDown. That former world champ, that would be one Braun Strowman. And now, the last time fans saw Strowman, that was the last monster standing match against Bronson Reed on Raw back in September. Since then, it was reported that Strowman suffered a groin injury in that match. Now, anything groin related always sounds just so painful, but the idiot in me, I just always think of the old football in the groin clip of poor Hans Moleman from The Simpsons. Anyway, Braun made his return to the ring in a dark match following SmackDown. That dark match, it was initially Rey Mysterio and Dragon Lee against Finn Balor and JD McDonough, though that was interrupted by Carlito interference, leading to Braun making the save and giving the Milwaukee crowd an impromptu six-man match, which obviously the babyfaces won. Prior to the injury and his beef with Bronson Reed, Strowman was in the mix trying to earn a shot at Braun Breaker's Intercontinental title. Now, you look at what could be next for him. Will he be back after Big Bronson on Monday nights? Will he be back after the IC title, or will he be involved in something totally new? I mean, one has to imagine Bronson Reed is kind of off the table now that he's aligned with the new bloodline, so he'll be busy with that, all the shenanigans that surround the bloodline. Either way, we may see Braun Strowman's return to TV as soon as tomorrow night's WWE Raw. Right, one person who's already made their return to TV, that would be Shinsuke Nakamura. Now, for those who may have missed it, SmackDown this week saw Nakamura attack LA Knight. Yeah, following the Megastar's win over Berto. Nakamura had a slightly different look. He was kind of decked out in all black. He seemed to have some sort of paint around his eyes, although it's kind of tricky to fully see his face as his hair was all down and covering it. Anyway, Shinsuke Nakamura is back and seemingly set to feud with LA Knight. As for Nakamura's return, Fightful Select reports that it had been planned for several weeks now. Nakamura was not listed on internal rundowns, but he was named on the script. Now, Shinsuke Nakamura, it's an interesting one because he last wrestled on TV back in, I believe it was April, against Sheamus on Raw. But despite that, he has been fairly active on live events in recent months, even being a part of WWE's UK tour last month, where he wrestled, yeah, guessed it, LA Knight several times. In fact, it was having a little nose at this because I'm a stats nerd this morning. Shinsuke's last 9 live event matches have all involved LA Knight, either one-on-one or in fatal four-ways. So, do you think Shinsuke Nakamura, could he be the one to take the United States title from LA Knight? How happy have you been with LA Knight's US title run so far? Let us know in the comments what you think about all of that. Now, speaking of whether you're happy about LA Knight's run or not, many wondered whether WWE was happy with, that's a transition and a half there, forcing that one through. But yeah, people have been wondering whether WWE, what they will have made of the streaming issues that plagued Netflix's live broadcast of Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson. Now, that still... It feels weird just to even say those names together. Jake Paul, Mike Tyson. But that was a fight. That did indeed happen. And Jake Paul beat a 58-year-old man on a points decision. Anyway, according to Netflix, somewhere between 60 to 60. I mean, yeah, this is just nuts numbers. Again, like I said, for me, this is all unfathomable that fight actually took place, but there's a demand for it clearly because Netflix have put out there that somewhere between 60 and 65 million homes, millions and the millions, streamed the fight, the event, which is absolutely nuts. Well, actually, specifically, it was the fight. I think it was 50 million for the co-main, 60 to 65 million for the actual main event. Which is it's absolutely incredible numbers, absolutely incredible numbers. And for old men who shout at clouds like me, and it's like, why is this fight happening? That's why, because there's a demand for it. And there's a big payday at the end of it for Iron Mike. Of course, with so many devices tuning in at the same time, though, many people experience buffering, general connectivity issues, and just a whole bunch of problems with being able to watch the fight. Netflix, they're very much in the early stages of broadcasting live content, because while Netflix is the clear, the streaming service that is the number one in their particular market, it's on-demand content for the most part. So they're just kind of baby steps at the moment with live events. Now, of course, upon WWE moving to Netflix at the turn of the year, that naturally throws up questions about whether live WWE program will have those same sort of issues. Now, in the US, Monday Night Raw moves to Netflix, while other international territories, such as us folks here in the UK, in sunny North East Wales, we get Raw, SmackDown, PLEs, and supposedly pretty much any WWE Network / Peacock content. That is all moving to Netflix at the start of next year. Now, from Fightful Select, they reached out to some people in WWE to see what their thoughts were on the streaming issues. And WWE said that they've had assurances that any such issues would be kept at a minimum. One higher up, I also quite like this as well. One higher up also said that if they were doing similar numbers to Jake Paul and Mike Tyson, yeah, it'd be a pretty good problem to have. So yeah, I mean, I don't think we'll be having 60 million people tuning into to Raw on a Monday night anytime soon. But hey, it's something to keep in mind, I guess. Now, in one final story for today's WhatCulture Wrestling news, the latest Wrestling Observer newsletter reports that the legendary Conan is currently hospitalized. Now, this report notes that as of the time of writing, Conan had been in the hospital for 26 days due to the diverticulitis and subsequent health issues as a result of that. Dave Meltzer adds how the situation was grave at one point and doctors feared the worst, but Conan has turned things around and is seemingly, by all accounts, on the mend. Now, Conan, man, he's had a rough ride of it over the years. Unfortunately, several major health scares over the years from, heart surgery, those 2 kidney transplants. So just for myself and all of us here at WhatCulture Wrestling, our thoughts are with K-Dog at this time on a full and speedy recovery. Seriously, Conan is one of those people who's such an important figure in the history of professional wrestling. This is someone who was at one point essentially the Hulk Hogan of Mexican wrestling. And I mean that in a positive way, not the BS these days that you always associate with Hulk Hogan, but as in Conan was just that big of a star. Of course, he'd worked over the years for both CMLL and AAA, still involved with AAA to this day. There was WCW, Major League Wrestling, MLW, TNA, a couple of AEW appearances, and even that cup of coffee in the WWF back in the early 90s. The original Max Moon, before that gimmick was taken over by Paul Diamond. There was also a brief run in ECW prior to landing in WCW in, early 96, I think it was. And Conan was part of Lucha Underground, man. Oh, hello, darkness, my old friend. I miss Lucha Underground. You know when people say they have the saying of like such and such lives rent free in their head. Yep. Yep. Angelico's dive from Lucha Underground absolutely lives rent free in my head. If you've never seen it, seriously, just Google Angelico dive. It's ridiculous. The Matt Striker commentary sets the stage so well. You've got Ivelisse all alone. It's a trios match, even for the vacant trios titles. You've got Ivelisse all alone in the ring against the Crew. Son of Havoc, her partner, is on the outside, been taken out. Angelico is too far away, stuck up on this part of like the temple stage set. So literally, when you look at it, it feels like he's kind of 20 foot in the air and maybe even like 20 foot away from the ring. It's just nuts. It is the greatest dive you will ever see, man. Lucha Underground. It wasn't here for a long time, but it sure was here for a good time. Put that on a DVD, a Blu-ray, streaming service, whatever, and I will hand over my money for all of the Lucha Underground goodness. One quick thing to mention as well before I get things wrapped up. TNA, I noticed over the last few days, have got several items up for sale to help Chris Bay on his road to recovery. Now, Chris Bay suffered a very serious neck injury that required emergency surgery last month at a set of TNA TV tapings. TNA has links up to a couple of Chris Bay t-shirts. There's a Major Bendy figure there. There's his music, and also a link to the GoFundMe that's been set up to help him with his recovery. That's all at tnawrestling.com/Bay, BEY. And with that brings today's solo Sunday news to a close. I've been Andrew Pollard. This has been WhatCulture Wrestling. You have a great rest of your weekend. I don't know why I sang that in a weird way. I'll see you in 2 weeks, as next Sunday I'm off, as I'll likely be nursing a pretty big hangover after a friend's birthday party. Be well, be good, stay safe.